examiner, and I run brew bake on the side. So I've generally been baking for like about 6 years, 5 to 6 years. But then I started brew bake officially about 2 years ago because I decided to start something and create something that my daughter would be proud of growing up. So for brew bake, I do bespoke cakes and treats and cupcakes, like basically anything edible, anything for an occasion, and brew bake is able to do. My personal favorite would be like something rustic, intricate. Yeah, so when I get orders for like something along those lines, I try to put in. I always put in effort in my cakes, but those ones, because they're personal favorite, I try to do something that like, I would love, something that I would love if I ordered a cake, something I would want. So the recent one that I did that I really liked, which was a bit rustic, was a square cake that I did for a collaboration. Bakers from different countries basically come together and with like they're given a theme, and basically you bake around the theme, you produce something around that theme. So it was a square cake that I did for that collaboration. I'd say inspiration wise, my little girl. I know she's only 2, but she inspires me a lot. She is like a go getter. She is feisty. She is forceful. And that is something that qualities that I'm learning as an older person. I'm learning from her. So I'm trying to put that into Rubik. Like, as in, because I had the idea a long time ago, but it was only when she came around that I'm getting a bit more serious about it because I'm learning. I would say my life is unconventional at the moment because I have to juggle like a lot of things at once. So I'm juggling work, I'm juggling being a mother, being a wife, and also having brew bake on the side. So I think the main thing that has kept me going or like kept everything in focus is prioritizing because all of those 4 things are very important. You don't want to do one and then ignore the other. So just prioritizing and also getting help, like as in knowing to ask for help when I need it. So in terms of parenting, my husband, he does great with my daughter if he needs to take her away, just so that I can focus on baking. He does that. So personal obstacles initially when I was starting is basically dealing with negative comments. That was an issue for me. Almost there were certain comments that almost made me stop or like not start Rubik, but then kind of overcame those and persevered. I carried on with the vision I had. Within the industry, I would say like finding the right customer base, basically people that understand like why you're pricing your products the way that you are. You need people to understand what goes into it. Someone would say, oh, like I can get a cake from Tesco or I can get a cake from here for this price, but then they don't understand like as in that each cake that you're doing is basically bespoke. It's like as in what goes in, the time that goes in, baking, decorating. It takes quite a bit. So when people hear, oh, you're pricing this much, they'll be like, I can get it from somewhere else with this price. So it's basically trying to, that was my main obstacle, to find the right customer base that would agree with my pricing. In the near future, I would hope to have like a baking school, if you can say that, like as in just to get the youth in, anyone that's interested really, to come in and get creative. 'Cause for me, baking is kind of like a release. I'm able to, it's just somewhere to go and escape really. So if I can provide that for the youth, like somewhere that they can go, escape, be themselves, get creative, like whatever is in their head, like bring it out, and something to they can do to be proud of. Yeah, that's. I would hope to have something like that in the future. So the advice that I would give young people is that when you find that one thing that you're good at, like as in you can be good at many things, but then that one thing that you're passionate about, just try and develop it, like as in build on it. So with brew bake, initially before I started getting orders, I was baking for people, like friends and family, or sometimes I would even just make cake and like try out new techniques and have it at home, and then we just sit around and eat it. So just try and develop on that talent or passion that you have. And I would say also try and be consistent. So in everything that you do, just have that consistency. And to have that one person that you can go to for advice, that one person that you know would always push you, like would always encourage you, like even when you feel a bit down, a bit like you're giving up. Because in the cake community, it's like a lot of amazing talents. There's sometimes I feel like, what am I even doing here? I'm not that great. But then just to have that one person to speak to, that would just give you that little motivation that you need to get over that.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to No Ordinary Life TV. I hope you're all doing well. And a very warm welcome to our speakers as well. Thank you so much for joining us. So if you can put in the chat where you're joining us from, that will be great, so we know the demographics of our audience tonight. Welcome to our speakers. Isaac, welcome. Emmanuel, thank you for joining us tonight.
Hey.
Hello. It's good to see you. So I'll start with a brief introduction. My name is Christine Newton. I am a financial director of No Ordinary Life. And I'm just stepping in for the founder who usually hosts our lives. So do pardon me if I do make some errors. So welcome to our YouTube viewers. Welcome to our viewers on LinkedIn. I am also an accountant by profession, and I will, for those of us joining us for the first time, I will give a brief description of what No Ordinary Life is about. No Ordinary Life is a careers and personal development platform. So we help young people or anyone who's interested in finding their purpose and gaining passion in their careers and chosen vocations. And we also deal with mental health and personal finance as well, which ties into our careers and vocations. So thank you so much for being with us tonight. And I hope we have questions ready to ask our speakers, as they are well qualified in the topic of finance and they're here to advise us. So first of all, I'll hand over to Emmanuel to give us a brief introduction of himself, and then we'll start with the questions. Thank you, Emmanuel.
Thank you, Christine. Hey, everyone. I'm Emmanuel Suko. I'm a financial advisor here in the UK. I'm also author of a book called Get Your Money Right. I also have a children's book coming out in September called The Ultimate Guide to Money. I'm all about wealth creation as well as budgeting, but also ways that you can grow your money, invest your money, build wealth, and live the life that you desire. So yeah, I'm looking forward to answering your questions and looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. As we wait for Isaac to return, I think he is here. Let me just add him on. There we go. Welcome back, Isaac. Can you hear us okay?
Sorry about that. It looks like, yes, I can hear you just fine, but it looks like technology is undefeated.
Sometimes
it decides to misbehave.
Of course. Yes, we are always
Um,
prepared for that. Yeah. So if you can give us a brief introduction of yourself, so our audience know what you are about and who you are. Thank you.
sure. I'm Isaac Ngusi. I'm Rwandan national, but very much a son of the continent. I am a personal finance, personal business and investment finance consultant here in Rwanda, East Central Africa. I work particularly to help individuals and organizations be a little bit more efficient with their finance, so that we can achieve our financial goals even in limitation. I consult as an investment readiness specialist for two NGOs here in Rwanda, just preparing us to our businesses to be ready for funding. But my passion is in personal finance and investment readiness. So I'm happy to be here. Like I said, I'm Rwandan by nationality, but 13 different countries growing up, from south to west to east to north. So we've covered all the regions, and very much in love with the continent. And I wish that we can do more to go further with what we have.
Thank you so much, Isaac. I'm glad you're a proud Prakan. That's good. So
Oh,
I'll
yes.
just briefly describe our program for tonight, and then we shall proceed. So I'll start off by asking a few questions to our speakers tonight, and then we'll open the floor to our audience. If you have any questions, we'll give you time to post it in the chat, and then we'll post them to our speakers, and they can answer you. So that is our program for tonight. So our first question. My first question: what advice or tips will you give to people who want to be more disciplined with their money? So I'll pose it first to Emmanuel. If you can speak to our audience in the diaspora, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess if we're talking about discipline, discipline comes from mindset. So when you're talking about discipline, we are talking about your money mindset. And for me, what changed my discipline or my thoughts was understanding my why. Like, why am I going to be disciplined? I think it's one thing to say, I want to make money, but why do you want to make money? There's one thing to say, I want to buy a house. Why do you want to buy that house? What is it? What's that driving force? Because when things get tough, when you have to make sacrifices, when you have to not go out with your friends, or when you have to not buy the thing that you want to buy, it's going to become difficult if you don't know your why. And for me, that was a critical part of being able to change my mindset, was when I knew my why. My why when I was young, and my why has changed over time. So when I was younger and single, my why was my mum and my immediate family. As I've now become a husband and the father, my why has become my immediate family in regards to my wife and kids. My why has changed over the time. And even now, as I now have a platform where I'm talking to and representing an underprivileged demographic in the UK, that has become my why. So your why can develop, but it's really important to understand your why. Because if I know that, for example, I want to buy a house for my mum, for example, that's really important to me to help and support my family. If my friend then buys a new car, I'm not going to feel jealous at them having a car, because that's not my why. Those are not my goals. That's not but the problem is for a lot of us, we don't know our why. And so what happens is you have a target because you saw something on social media and you thought, that's a good idea. And then somebody else put something, oh, no, I'd rather have what that person has. And you continue to chase things and end up achieving nothing. So your why is really, really important as to, how you can really change. And then from there, I always tell people, look at your needs and your wants. I think, things, and really understand delayed gratification. We are an instant gratification generation. I always tell people, in London, when you go to we use the underground, and when you go to the underground, if it tells you that the train is 3 minutes or more, everybody will be upset. 3 minutes, and they're saying it's a good service, everybody will be upset. But when you really think about it, 3 minutes is not a long time. Do you know what I mean? But you are so programmed to get everything here and now that the fact that you have to wait almost becomes a problem. And the reality is that anything that is worth building, anything worth having, there has to be a period of waiting. There has to be a period where And so understanding your needs versus your wants is something that I always tell people to do. But then also understanding delayed gratification. And I'll finish on this. I always tell people the aim is not to work forever. In this UK, I think when I go to Nigeria, I think they get it. But here in this UK, I don't think we understand. We just want to work. We just want to work forever. And what we do is we work, we pay all our bills, and at the end of the month, we clap for ourselves. Well done. We've paid all our bills, have no debt, but we're at zero, and then we work again. And if you have to understand, if you don't delay your gratification, if there's not a difference between what money that you're putting away, money, if you always have to work for your money, you'll always have to work. And there has to come a point where you are putting money away that is being invested in the future, so that eventually that money that you've invested will replace you having to work and creating an income that you don't have to work for. The point, and so the mindset has to change in regards to, it's not about working forever. It's about making your money work for you. You work for money, you make that money work for you, and eventually that money that works for you will replace your income and you won't have to work anymore.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. That was a lot of principles in there. I hope you're making notes as I am. So there will be a poll so we can understand where we're all coming from, and the speakers can know better which circumstances to address. So please visit the link, which will be put in the chat when we're ready. So I'm going to pose the same question to you, Isaac. But if you can speak to our African audience, what advice or tips will you give to people who want to be more disciplined with their money? Thank you.
I think Amanda did a very good job explaining what motivates discipline, because discipline by design means you have to deny yourself in order to achieve something, and getting over that first hump is the problem, denying yourself. So if we can come to a frame of mind, principles are principles. Gravity is the same on this continent as it is in every other continent, right? And human nature is also the same. We look for immediate satisfaction, immediate gratification, but the reality is, one of my personal definition for wealth is your ability to take care of today's wants and needs, as well as tomorrow's wants and needs, but using today's resources, right? So many of us are struggling to get satisfied and get what we want and what we need today. And we spend all our money, probably finish it before the month ends, trying to satisfy all our wants and needs. That's why I think a survey in our local context here of a few thousand Rwandans said that in most Rwandans, more than 80% of my people finish our income, consume the entirety of our income within 14 days of payday. So half the month we're on zero. And that's a reflection of how immediate we want satisfaction. We want to consume, and we find that we have nothing. So I'd say that the first step to discipline is definitely mindset. The first step to any form of change is a change in the mind. But I'd also add to what Emmanuel said by saying one thing that can definitely help you be more disciplined is to automate your behavior. So if you can find a way to declare to yourself how much you want to set aside for your future, and you can find a way to automate that, whether it's a standing order at the bank, whether it's a program in whatever apps you're using or online banking service, what happens is you begin to make your discipline automatic. How much of us would love to be able to press a button on an app and every morning our body goes to the gym? That would be nice. But there's no app that's been invented yet that can automatically make us exercise or eat right. You can automatically save your money though. So consider that as you look to be more disciplined.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So across the two conversations, we've had mindset and automation. So please keep those two key principles in mind. So we have our audiences, someone joining us from Inverness, Scotland, welcome. Someone joining us from London, welcome. We have someone else from Accra, Ghana, you're welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Please share the links on your social media platforms so we can have others hear this wonderful advice that we have tonight. Okay, so our Slido poll is ready for us. So it's in the chat. So if you can click on it, and then we can know how our speakers can respond to your questions. So once you see the link in the poll in the chat, please click on it and answer the questions in there. So my next question, as we're giving the audience time to answer that poll, is it possible to save and or invest when you're on a small budget? First to you, Emmanuel. Thank you.
Oh, this question, it makes me, I always wonder, I don't know, it's like saying, is it possible to diet and eat food at the same time? Do you understand? It doesn't, of course, when you diet, you still eat, right? So if you have money and you have if you have a budget, whatever's left over, you can save. I think the problem is that when we think of save, we think, oh, it must be hundreds or thousands or whatever. Yeah. It's all about the concept. I tell people the reason I used to work for a lot of these banks, and I used to sit down with clients, and they would have millions, and I'll be helping them go from 2 million to 5 million, 5 million to 10 million. I didn't really feel like I was doing my job. And I used to speak to people about, why don't I see anyone that grew up on a council estate or in the background that I come from at work? And I realized it was because even to get financial advice in the UK, you probably need to have £100,000 for a financial advisor to even take you seriously. But how do you get to £100,000 if no one's taught you how to manage £100 or £10? The concept is the same. If I understand how to budget, and guess what? The best people who are at budgeting are the people who are the poorest. Do you understand? The best, if you want to look at, we've done scientific research here in the UK, the people who are best at saving money, as in budgeting their money, are people who are the poorest. The problem is that the second that we start to make money, the bread and milk that we used to be eating before, we can't eat that anymore. We've made money now. So I always tell people that it's really important that you understand that it's not a case of can I? Yes, you can. The point is that it's not going to change. You have to learn the concept, but the reality is that it's not about the money itself. It's about, I need to make more. Yeah. So once I get to a point of I know how to manage it, I know how to manage my £10, I know how to manage my £100. Now the problem is not the managing. The problem is I need to get more in. I need to work out ways to get more in. And the problem is that for a lot of us, all our time and energy is being taken doing one income. Do you understand? So it's very difficult for us to get to where we want to get to when we spend all our day, all our hours working on doing work for one income. And that one income can just about pay our bills. I don't know if anyone's heard the acronym of JOB, just over broke. I don't know if anyone's heard that before. Just over broke. That's what a lot of people say. That's what JOB stands for. Because for a lot of us, we are in jobs that give us just enough that we're not broke. We have enough to pay our bills and maybe go out and like Isaac was saying, in the first couple of weeks, we can now go to the pub and go for a drink and go out with our mates. And we've got enough just to have a decent life. But it's just enough. And that's what they want to give you. They want to give you just enough so it keeps you where you're at. But I want to challenge you to say that you deserve more than just enough. You deserve more than that. And so because of that, you have to say to yourself, am I just going to take what the system gives me? Or am I going to use my time, effort, energy in a way that's going to serve me? That's going to serve me better. And so the very simple question is, yes, you can save on a small budget, but why would you want to? The point is that, yes, I can save and I can learn the habits, but understand that that's just learning the habits. What I really need to focus on is how do I create these other income streams so I have more money to play with? Because guess what? Rich people, I tell you, when I was working in the bank, a lot of my clients that were making a lot of money, they didn't save. They just had too much money that they could spend. They had more money than they could spend, so there was just money left over. Wouldn't you like to be in a position where you get to the point where you have these income streams and you have enough income streams to pay for your lifestyle that you naturally save? You get to a point of abundance. We come from a position of scarcity. But actually, when you start to think of life as an abundant, that I can get it, I can make it, it's available to me. Now it's just about finding ways to connect to the abundance.
Thank you so much. Is there anything you can add, Isaac, in 1 minute for those in the African context?
Well, I think again, I'm in agreement. I think that we're all talking about the same principles. We're all talking about gravity here when it comes to money. I'm not a big fan of the idea of small budget or little money. Look, you either have money or you don't have money. There is no little money. I think there's something equivalent in the Star Wars quote. You either do or you don't. There is no try. So when you're looking to manage your money, it doesn't matter how much resource you have. It also doesn't matter that others around you have more or the access you have to resources. What matters is your ability to manage it. By the way, Emmanuel said something that struck me. It resonated because more money by itself doesn't help you financially. Getting more money, if anyone has, I think I see that we are talking to a demographic that's spread out of a number of years. We have some people in their mid-20s, some people in the 30s. Anyone who has worked for more than 5-10 years will tell you that you earned a certain amount of money when you started, and you've been earning more as the years have gone along. However much more, you've been earning more. But most of the time, if we don't have any mechanisms, any discipline, any structures to contain the way we use our money, making more money just causes you to spend more and probably put you in a worse situation. So more money, more problems. The great philosopher once said, Biggie Smalls, right? If I'm telling my age a little bit. Unless we have mechanisms, unless we have disciplines, unless we have structure that helps us use our money more efficiently. And that's budgeting. That's knowing how much you need. I think Emmanuel mentioned this before. How much you need to stay alive, and then what money you can spend on things that make your life more interesting or enjoyable. But the principle is to begin with knowing exactly how much you need and making enough money for that so that you are alive, and then prioritizing wants, including your ability to generate more income, having some money set aside for that. So maybe more than a minute, but that's what I'd add.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we're ready for the poll now. So if I would encourage our audience, if you can all please click on the Slido link that we've put in the chat. So you should be seeing this link in the chat. Okay, so our first question. Please explain if one should focus on investing or on saving, or both can be done together. Oh, I think these are questions from the audience, which we'll tackle later. I see. Okay.
It's a good question.
Yeah. So we've got some good questions from the audience. So if we move from the quiz. on, make sure everyone has joined. Okay. If you've joined, if you can put in the chat a thumbs up so we know everyone's been able to join. If you're having any problems, just let us know, because we want everyone to take part. If you just give us a quick thumbs up, if you've been able to enter into the Slido, that would be great. So you go to slido.com and the code is #3515. Oh, and I just lost it. Okay, we have one thumbs up. 3515041. #3515041. Okay, we'll just give it a couple more seconds. Okay, another thumbs up. Yeah, if you can put your name once you arrive so we know that we can start the quiz. Yes, so Mr. Kweku, if you can put your name. Mr. Caleb, if you can put your name, that would be great once you arrive. Thank you so much, Tims and Jacqueline. So the code again is #3515041, slido.com. Okay, Mr. Caleb has joined us. I think we should be ready to start the quiz now. There's 9 of us, so we're still waiting on 6 of us to join, if possible. If 2 more could join us, that would be great. So at least we have half of our audience. Thank you, Mr. Kweku. One more, please. Weze, thank you so much. Yes, I believe we have enough to start the quiz now. Okay, so it's very quick. So just choose the option that's applicable to you. It only gives you a few seconds to answer, so you have to be very quick. Okay, we have a couple more people joining us. Welcome, Steph. Welcome, Brian. Welcome, Jacqueline. Yeah, I believe that's more than half of us. So if we can proceed to the quiz, please, because we're running short of time. Which best describes your relationship status? 3 options. You choose the best one. Okay, so 67% of our audience are married. Okay, speakers, so I'd like us to bear that in mind. So we're possibly having 2 incomes in the household, possibly. Yeah, okay, so on to our next question. So to our audience, once you click on your option, hit send so that it's able to register your responses. Which best describes your work or study status? That's if you're a student, and work if you're working. Or if you have a business, I believe there's options for side hustle as well. So choose your option and click send. Oh. Was anyone able to answer that question? I believe there were more options. Are we able to scroll up and down, or we didn't have the chance to answer? Oh, okay. So 67% are full-time employed, and then the rest of us are entrepreneurs. That's good. Very good. Thank you. On to our next question. How would you describe your income bracket based on your work status? So as an employee or as an entrepreneur, which of those options best describes you? Hmm? Okay, 14% are just starting on the entry-level job. Most of us are mid-level, and then the rest of us are in managerial roles. Excellent. Thank you so much for your responses. Our penultimate question. How will you describe your money personality? Mostly spender, mostly saver, mostly investor, or a combination of all three? So this is going to expose some of us. I believe I would fall in the mostly spender category. But after tonight, I believe it will change. Okay, what are our results? Oh. Be interesting to see who has chosen a combination of all three. Oh, okay. So 67% have a combination of all three. That's good. And you're still on this show? That's good. Wanting to learn more money principles. That's really good. And 33% are like me, spending most of the money. Okay, our final question. Do you practice budgeting? So this is a no, sometimes, or religiously. Choose your option and click send. Okay, yeah, so most of us are in the sometimes bracket. So after tonight, hopefully we'll be better at budgeting and it will be more regular. Or as Isaac mentioned before, we can automate it. Okay. I believe we have a few more questions. In a few words, why do you budget or not budget? So this is an open-ended question. So once you type your answers, hit send so our speakers can see why you budget or why you do not. And if you can't, just let us know you can't, and then they can help us with some budgeting tips. Your reasons why you budget or do not budget. Okay, someone knows generally how much is coming out, so they think they don't need to budget. The outgoings change regularly, so they have to budget. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, a budget definitely helps you to know where your money is going. That's true. You budget in order that your planned events are accommodated. Okay. You budget to see where your money is required, even though most of the times you overspend. Oh dear. So this is where the discipline comes in, the mindset. So you have to get your mindset right about the budgeting. You don't just budget and overspend. Yeah. What most of us are guilty, but we'll learn properly tonight. Thank you so much for your responses. Okay. Next we have, if you have extra financial commitments, what are they? Choose the options that apply to support your family, loans or debt, education, studying, or other financial commitments. So outside of the normal expenses that we have, like rent, mobile phone, internet, travel, food, what are your other financial commitments that you have outside of the basic financial needs? Okay, so family support and loans are par on par, and education is rising slowly. Okay, loans has gone down. Okay, so Emmanuel and Isaac have an idea of how to advise us tonight. And other reasons are creeping up slowly. Great. Was that our final one? Or we have one more? Which aspect of money management should our next event focus on? Okay. So those are the options: saving, budgeting, investment, debts and loans, long-term financial planning, or other. So this is our first money management event of the year. So if we had to have another one, what would you like us to focus more on? Tonight we're focusing on making the most of the money that we have on a small budget. But if you'd like it to focus on a specific subject, let us know. Okay, long-term financial planning. Yeah, that's a good idea, because we're all growing old, so we need to know, plan for the future. Thank you so much for all of us who were involved. So we have saving at 14%, debts and loans 29%, investment at 57%, long-term financial planning. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you to our audience for your responses, and I hope this has fed some information to both yourself, Emmanuel, and Isaac on how to respond to our next questions. Based on the responses from our audience, what simple ways can one improve their income once they're on a small budget? How would you advise our audience to improve their income?
Isaac, I'll follow you. You go.
Sure. Before we, generally speaking, in my consulting practice, before we talk about how you can improve your income, like Emmanuel said when we began the conversation, the question is why? For what? What is the purpose? What is your goal? Because when you can establish a goal, I always say nobody starts a journey before first setting the destination. You have to know where you're going first before you can decide how to get there, what's the most realistic means that you can use, how much time will it take, all these details. So we work backwards from what your goals are. And very common goals are to the many married people in this conversation is to set your roots down, have a home, set up alternate income streams, plan for retirement, plan for your children, plan to get out of whatever financial situation that you're immediately in terms of debt, or maybe even your immediate family supporting your parents, siblings, extended family, something that's affectionately known as a black tax. All of these come into place, and these are not, especially in collectivist cultures like mine, and I know many of our African, many cultures around the world, not just Africans, have collectivistic mindsets. These all can weigh on a person, especially if they are not ordered, structured, organized. So I'd say the first thing you want to do is determine what your short, middle, and long-term goals are. So under a year, between 1 to 5 years, and 5 years and more. What are those goals? What do they cost you to achieve them? And what can you realistically meet if you take a handful at a time? From there, you can determine what kinds of activities you need to engage in. Do you need to spend some time away? Do you need to get out of your social groups? Do you need to get out of your hangouts? Do you need to get out of your pastimes and spend some time in diligent study so you can learn things to help you cultivate a valuable skill? Do you need to learn coding? Do you need to learn writing? Do you need to learn speaking? Do you need to learn whatever skill is applicable in your marketplace so that AI, so that's a thing now, so that you can apply a trade to the market that the market needs and start generating income? Do you need to learn how to invest as a means to increase your income as well? These questions can only be answered when you know what your goals are, you know what they're going to cost you in terms of money and time, and you can set in motion a realistic step-by-step plan that can get you from where you are right now to your journey of 1,000 miles, as they say.
Thank you so much, Isaac. What would you like to add to that, Emmanuel?
Yeah, I think as I said it all, and obviously time is running out, so I don't want to drag it on. But I think what's really important is that is you understanding that you are a business. I think it's so important to understand. So Jay-Z has the line, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. Like, you are an actual business. And why this is important, because whenever I say this, people are like, E-man, why are you saying this? The reason I say this is that, especially when it comes to money, we make emotional decisions that we wouldn't make if the emotion wasn't involved. I'll give you a few examples. If you are a business owner and a supplier is not delivering on time, or is messing with your product, or is not providing you with good customer service, the first thing you will do is, okay, I'm going to find a new supplier. If we have friends in our lives that disappoint us, let us down, what do we say? Oh, I've known them since primary school, or we've been friends forever, or we grew up together. You don't do the same. You don't move the same. You don't see yourself as a business. The same way that if a stranger emailed you and said, oh, could you just send me £10,000? You would say no. But all of a sudden, somebody's got you lovey-doveyed, and all of a sudden you're transferring money, or you're borrowing money from other people to go and transfer or go and make these decisions. All of a sudden you're taking somebody to restaurants that you've never even been in your life. Do you understand? All of a sudden you're buying them clothes that you haven't even got. All of a sudden you are giving somebody money that you haven't even given your own mum. When I sit down with people and I say, wow, you gave this lady out of love money. Have you ever given your mum that kind of money one day in her life? The woman that brought you in this earth, that you raised, that you love so much? No. So we have to understand that a lot of the time, the things that are keeping us down is our emotions. And so sometimes we have to get to a point where we just understand, I'm a business. I need to make business decisions. And when you start to be a business, all of a sudden you start to say, rather than spend that money on clothes, I'm going to spend that money on a course. Rather than spend that money on going out, I'm going to spend that money on branding or marketing. Like, you start seeing yourself as a business, because the best investment you can make is in yourself. But if you don't see yourself as a business, you'll never invest in yourself. And finally, one thing that we do too often, we are in a position where we don't have that much money, but the little money we have, we give to companies that are worth millions and billions. I see people buying Louis Vuitton, Ralph Lauren. These are billionaires. You are you are using the little money that you have to make rich people richer whilst making yourself poorer. When you really understand the concept, you will ask yourself, are you crazy? Are you all really okay? But this is what consumerism has got us doing. So when you start to dial it back, listen to what Isaac said, because that was the concept. Like, that's what you need to be doing. But mindset wise, you need to start challenging the things that you think are normal, because the things that you think are normal are not normal. And that's the problem.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. I like that. Treat yourself as a business, and that will change the decisions, most of the decisions we make. Thank you so much. I hope we're all learning, audience. This is great advice we've got here tonight. So now we're going to go to the audience's questions. So we're going to go to the questions you posted on the Slido. And then because of time, I'll give our speakers 2 minutes each to answer the questions. Yeah, so just take a moment to... Okay, so... We'll go with the question from Tim's. We'll post that to Isaac. What's your advice to guard against external forces that discourage us from saving or investing? The case of the collapse of Ghana's financial sector in mind. Even though I know you're not in Ghana, you kind of relate to it. Isaac.
I'm not exactly, I'll try to be brief. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by the collapse of Ghana's financial sector. But I think that is very important for us to realize that our financial future is in our own hands. So we need to start making decisions, like Emmanuel said, treating yourself like a business. If you are under stress or under pressure to behave a certain way that is not in your best interest in your local area, you might have to have a conversation with yourself about what you should do about that. Should you just conform, even though it's not in your best interest? Or should you start making moves to protect yourself, to protect your investments, to diversify? Should you step out to other locations? Should you find... Welcome to Rwanda. I'll send the Rwanda Development Board an invoice for promoting investment in our country. So look, find a place where your money can grow. Farmers always find the best soil, the best fertilizers, the best seed, the best environment for their crop to go. Be a wise farmer and find the best place to put your saving and investment funds. Especially in the digital world we live in today, everything is nearby.
Yeah, thank you so much for that advice, Isaac. Okay, so I'll pose our next questions to Emmanuel. Please explain if one should focus on investing or on saving, or both, or can both be done together. If you can advise, as a married man, can you advise our married couples, because that's the majority of our audience?
Yes. So this is very important. For us to change our situation, ownership is key. Ownership. We are probably the only people that are comfortable not owning. We're too comfortable renting things. We need to start to own things. All right. So this question can be: should I save or invest, or should I pay off debt, or should I save? Either or. You can do all. It's all about how much do you have and what percentage are you going to put to it. So if I know that I have more debt, if I have debt, then I might put 60% towards the debt and then 40% towards saving, or 70% towards the debt, 30%. You can do both. Now, if you pay off your debt, you might then say, oh, I've got my saving. Now, saving, the only money you should have in saving is your emergency fund. The money that you need in cash, that you need for emergencies, whether that be, something happens to the house, something happens to the car, so, an emergency, something with the kids, anything like that, an emergency. So you have your emergency fund, typically 3 to 6 months of outgoings, but then also there's, life happens, things that might happen that that are unexpected. So especially if you're supporting external factors like family, but other family members, external family, you might need additional money for that. But that's what you should have in cash. Other than that, you should be investing. Now, investing doesn't just mean in stocks and shares or in funds. Investing can be in business. Investing can be in property. Investing can be, I've got some money. I know somebody that has a business. They need, sometimes we can be the bank. So I see people, you've got money sitting in a savings account. Why have you not thought, okay, I'll borrow that money, I'll lend that money at a certain percentage to this person's business at a certain rate, and I know that I'll get that back over time. Like, actually, because the bank is guess what the bank is doing? With that money that you have in the savings account, they are lending it out, whether it be mortgages or business loans or whatever it may be. So why are you going to leave your money there and get 2 or 3% when you can go and get 10, 15, 20% doing it yourself? So these are the types of things that you need to think about. Like, how do we actually make this money work for me? But yes, you can do both. I just think it depends on what percentage you want to divvy it out to. But we should always be investing, because investing leads to ownership. You either own shares in a company, you own a business, you own a property, you own stuff. And that's what we need to do. If we want people to take us serious, we have to have ownership.
Thank you so much. Ownership, guys. Think ownership. And investments, not only in stocks and bonds, invest in other people's business. That is actual confirmation to me, because I've actually thought of being like a microfinance, so actually lending my money to small business owners and getting the money back. So that's a confirmation to me. Thank you, Emmanuel.
Make sure you get your contract, please. See a lawyer.
Yes,
get your contract.
yes, definitely. I can't really see the question at the bottom because I don't know if we're able to scroll up. Okay, we'll do the question that's anonymous. So to you, Isaac, how would you advise for people to divide their money for growth?
Well, again, I'm always going to come back to goals. What are you trying to achieve? I had a client from the Far East a couple of years ago who was saying, look, I'm in my 60s. My kids are finished with school. My wife and I own our own home. We have a couple of cars, some assets, but we never planned for retirement. I'm 61 years old. I want to retire in the next 2 years. I'd like to replace my income. What can I invest in, right? And as you can imagine, that conversation, I use this example over and over because it's such a tall order to say, look, I want to retire in 2 years. I make $3,000, $4,000, the equivalent of $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 a month. And I'd like to replace that in 2 years when I'm 63 and I want to retire so I can do what I would like to do. Retirement planning usually takes decades, 30, 40 years plus, for you to take whatever 5%, 10% of your income and put it into some investment to compound over time. The reality is there are all kinds of investment opportunities. We came up to a very interesting solution with this particular client, but we don't have time to go through it right now. My point is that you could invest in stocks and you could leave your money in the savings account, like Emmanuel is advising you not to do, because aside from your emergency fund that you need to have access to in the event of a financial crisis, your money should be out on the farm growing, right? We said in the beginning of the show, money should work. Your money should not be sleeping in the bed when you get up at 5 a.m. to go work. Your money should not be say, hey, boss, go work. I'm going to spend a few more hours in the sheets drooling, right? Your money needs to go and work for you. It should not sit in the bank. It should not sit in your pocket. But then how? Savings accounts in our context here, up to 7% per year, but inflation reduces the value of your savings. So it's like in a sinking ship, right? Trying to bail water out of the sinking ship. You want to have your money growing at a rate much faster than inflation. And this is really the struggle. So bonds, futures, depending on how active you want to be in your investments. And I'd encourage you to become as active as possible. Own things, like Emmanuel said, so that you have financial muscle. Muscle comes from owning things and not giving your money away to the brand names, right? Now, that might be a strong opinion, but it is a good opinion. The way we use our money has an opportunity cost. So, what I would say to you, the best way for your money to grow is for you to realize that you need to sacrifice a little bit of today in order to have more tomorrow. You identify how much you want to put into, how much you're ready to put into your financial future of what you have today, and then learn the different vehicles that you can use, from funds to stocks and bonds to uh, angel investing that came up earlier, um, to more risky investments. The higher the risk, the higher the reward. The lower the risk, the lower reward. It's about you figuring out what you want to do and your appetite to get it done.
Thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Emmanuel?
Nothing. That was
No.
perfect.
Thank you
I
so
feel
much.
like I said it myself. I feel like we went to the same school to learn.
That's wonderful.
Hard knocks.
That's wonderful. So audience, if you have any more questions, if you like our speakers to dive in a bit deeper into anything they've said before, please put it in the chat so we can pose it to them. But before, in our registration forms, we gave you the opportunity to put any questions you had for the panel. So I'm just going to read a couple of them out. So someone says, how can I come up with a functional budget? If Emmanuel, if you can help us with that. How can one come up with a functional budget, please?
I think Isaac already kind of said it already. It's about automation. If you really want a budget to work, it's about separating. So the way I do with a lot of my clients is splitting it into three. So we have an account for your fixed costs. So the things that we know that you pay every single month, rent, telephone, all of those things, that comes from one account. So you know, okay, I know how much all of that, you know how much that is. You put that amount in that account, you don't need to worry about it. So let's say, for example, in the UK, you get £2,000. You know all your bills is £1,000. You put that in there. Now you got £1,000 left. Then we have a second account where you put yourself on a budget. So what people tend to do with the remaining money after they pay all their bills, it's a competition on how quick can I spend this before the end of the month. What you're supposed to do is actually say, of what's left, I'm going to give myself X amount of this to spend. This is why I say a budget sets you free. Because what you say is I've got £1,000, I'm going to give myself £100 a week, £400 in that account. I can spend that money freely because my bills are paid, and now the remaining 600 is saved. I've given money to my future self. I've paid all my bills, so everyone's happy. And here I have the remaining money to spend. I have no conscience. However I want to spend it, I don't need to feel bad. So it's about automating it. And then for people that are really bad, don't have your savings account in the same bank with the same app that you have your normal money, because all that will happen is that you will just be transferring from saving to, it might as well be a current account. You just got two current accounts that you're calling a savings account. It doesn't exist. Save with an account that you don't see it, because if you don't see it, it doesn't exist. And like Isaac said again, you have a standing order. You take, just like you pay your bills, you pay a bill to your savings. You don't see it. It just goes to another account. And then every 6 months or so, you check on it. You'll be shocked at how quickly. And I promise you, people always, once you start to have money, there's a feeling that you have where you're like, I have money. I don't want to not ever not have money again. And that's how you will start to become a saver. You start to enjoy the fact that you have money. You start to walk on the street different. When you walk down the street, like, I could buy that if I wanted to. I could go there if I want. I don't have to. I'm not going to, but I could. And when money gives you that freedom to walk around and say, I'm choosing the life that I'm living, as opposed to the life is just slapping me every morning, telling me what I must do. So it's really important. Hide that money away from yourself and let it build up. And when it builds up, I promise you, you'll look at money different.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. I will definitely say I'm guilty of, just transferring from savings to the current account. Lord help me. I've been convicted. I'm going to change tonight. Amen. Okay, so we have a question on our screens. Loans. So for those of us who are students and for entrepreneurs who have business loans and other debts, how does one manage paying them off? on a restricted budget. If I come to you, Isaac, 1 minute, and then we go to Emmanuel to add anything. Thank you.
Okay, when you say a restricted budget, everyone's on a restricted. Nobody has unrestricted income, right?
Yeah.
So, but we all feel like, we all feel like our money is not enough. And that's usually the case because we don't control what we have, right? Just like Emmanuel was saying earlier. Budgeting and organizing yourself, kind of tightening the belt as well, is always a good thing, because it gives you the freedom to now choose when you're not you're not overspending on where you live. Are you living on your own? Should you be living on your own? Should you be sharing those costs? Do you have to drive what you're driving? Do you have to drive at all? Would it be healthier if you walked or rode a bike? These types of difficult questions that challenge our lifestyle are the questions that we need to have, conversations we need to have with ourselves, and hopefully with trusted friends or loved ones, so that we can be held accountable for that. Now, when it comes to loans, I like to say, remember that there is a mental and emotional anchor when you owe. That's why some of us, we owe people money and we see them and we try to cross the street or duck into a ditch because because you didn't pay, right? And so you become a slave to your debtors, to your debtor. You become a slave. So get rid of debt. It is in your best interest. Use, after you have done with your emergency fund, as Emmanuel brought up earlier, set aside the amount of money that you were using every month to build up a savings, an emergency fund. Use that money to start tearing down your debt, right? Find an advisor somewhere, a banker somewhere, who can consolidate your debt if that's an option where you are. So you have one place where you owe money and one amount that you pay, and then work towards paying that off, especially if you have those types of options. If you don't, find a way to, I think it's one of these authors, Dave Ramsey, who talks about baby steps. Find a small, order your debts and then pay them off smallest to largest, so that you can gain some victories, quick victories. But pay off your debt. You will free yourself. You will have to be disciplined, and that discipline will serve you as you start growing your money.
Thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to add, Emmanuel?
No, that was perfect.
Thank you. So we have another question. How can one plan their investments with little income? Would you like to tackle that, Emmanuel, please?
Yeah, so the simple thing is, it goes back to, again, a lot of this stuff we said already. This is about you saying, okay, if I know that I've got £100 a month, left over, for example, I could put that in a savings account, but the savings account is probably only get me 3-4%. So by the end, it's not gonna, I'll get £30-40 by the end of the year, let's say, for saving in this account. That's not gonna be able to make me change my situation. I'm better off looking at, what can I do with that £100 that will give me a skill where I can now make an additional £100 a week or £100 every other week. So it's about you understanding, this is what I said, when you understand that you're a business and you can invest in yourself, like, actually, if I've only got a small amount left over, it doesn't make me that much better saving that money in an account. I need to make that money work. And when I've got small, to get the returns, like Isaac was saying, got to take a bit more risk. So when I sit down with my clients and they're like, oh, I don't want to take risk, I'm like, unfortunately, you've only got 10 years to retirement and you were supposed to start this 20 years ago. You've got to take more risk than anybody else. We haven't got time not to take risk. Do you understand? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where when you've got little, you've got to be able to be comfortable understanding that I've got to make this little stretch further. When you've got a lot, you can say, well, I don't need to take the risk because I've got a lot. But when you've got little, you've got to make it work. So actually putting it in a savings account it's great to build the habit, but the reality is that the return or that money is not going to grow as fast. So for me, if I've got a small amount, I'm thinking, rather than save it, how do I flip this? Can I invest this in something? Can I do a speaking course so I speak better? Then I can now do some public speaking events and get paid to do speaking events. Or can I learn a skill? Oh, can I use this to buy some gardening equipment? And then I can start knocking on people's doors and offering to do their gardens for them. It's going to serve me much better and get me a much quicker return doing that than it is sitting in a savings account. As that money starts to grow and I start to build, then I can start to look at, how do I savings account and then look at investing. But in the short term, when you've got little, the first investment has to be in yourself and making more. And then when you've got more, then you can look external to other investments.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Invest in yourself in order to make more for the bigger investments. Thank you so much, Isaac and Emmanuel, for your valuable advice tonight. So we have 3 minutes left of our show tonight. So what will be your last words, final words of advice for our audience tonight? Married, student, entrepreneur, just anything you'd like to advise them. We'll go to you, Isaac. Thanks.
Parting shots in 1 minute. I think I'd say, I mentioned it earlier, your financial future is in your hands. Nobody's coming to help you. Nobody's coming to save you. You need to take ownership of your own success. Start by knowing what you want to achieve. Put it down somewhere. Figure out what you need to learn in order to reach your goals. Identify the tools you need to use and do something every single day to get you there.
Thank you. And to you, Emmanuel, final words to our audience?
I think everything that's been said is amazing, but like words without action is pointless. So like they always say, don't put off tomorrow what you can do today. So when you finish this call, write down what are you going to do from today that is going to make a difference. That's biggest. Then I think for me personally, like being on this call, I think Isaac is amazing. I feel like if any of you are really serious, you should be reaching out to him to try and not because I'm not good, but I'm in pounds. I know the pounds is crazy right now. So if you can get that same advice in Rwandan currency, I promise you, we've been saying the same thing all night. So if you can get it at the Rwandan currency, you better go over there. I'm telling you, like having an accountability partner, take advice. One of the biggest problems in our community is we don't pay for advice. We rather learn from mistakes. And some of these mistakes are setting us back years. Yeah? Understand you wasn't the first to walk the planet. Anything you think you're thinking of or anything you want to do, someone's already thought about it already. Go and get the advice. Like, get a plan for yourself. Go and sit down. When you sit down with someone like Isaac, you remember you're sitting down with every single client that he's helped. You're not just sitting down with every single client over all the years, all the experience, all the qualification. That's going to set you years forward. So see it as an investment. Remember, business. If I'm a business, I'm ready to pay for marketing. I'm ready to pay for staff. I'm ready to pay for equipment. I'm ready to invest. If you are a business, go and do that investment. Sit down with Isaac, get that advice, and then trust me, that will get you ahead, years ahead of wherever you're planning to get to. That's really key.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. So before I sum up, if you can give us your social media handles, Isaac and Emmanuel, where you'd like, if we're to come to advice to you, where we can reach you. If you can tell us quickly, and then we'll also put it in the chat for our audience. So if you can tell us quickly your social media handles, so we can.
Yeah, you can use Isaac Nhusi Z. It's my, I think it's my handle even in today's conversation. Isaac Nhusi Z or Isaac Nhusi Z at LinkedIn. You can find me there.
Thank you. Yeah. And for yourself, Emmanuel?
Yeah, I'm Emmanuel Suko on LinkedIn, and then it's at the Eman Effect UK on Instagram and TikTok.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel and Isaac, for your time and for your advice tonight. So I'm just going to sum up. Goals work backwards. You are a business. Invest in yourself. Even the Bible says it. The debtor is a slave to the creditor. Have an accountability partner. Take advice and pay for it. So I hope we've taken some notes from tonight. And before we go, I'd like to share with us our No Ordinary Life merch. So I've got the white one on. So this one says No Ordinary Woman. So get in touch on our website and get yourself one. We have both ladies and gentlemen, and we have baseball caps and tote bags for the ladies. So yeah, just go to our website and get yourself a t-shirt or cup or a tote bag. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us tonight. Please do share this advice on your social media status so others can benefit from this advice. And not even hopefully, on our next events, we'll definitely be inviting Emmanuel and Isaac again. Thank you so much and have a good night. Bye from Your Ordinary Life. Thank you.